What's going on, guys? My name is RagingRaptor and welcome you to a new World of Tanks preview video. And today I want to have a look with you at the first tank which rolled onto the 2020 SuperTest, the IS-2S or IS-2 screened. A modified IS-2 with added heat screens, as you can see from the pictures right here. Obviously, those screens are just there to help you getting protected by HE or HEAT heat rounds in that kind of sense. I want to point out two things before we jump into this preview video, and those are more personal opinions which I'm saying right now. First, I don't really see the other benefits of those heat screens on tier 7, because tier 7 there are rarely any vehicle which use heat as standard ammunition or have heat as premium rounds. And even if they do, this additional protection will most likely, just from my feeling, not be enough to hold off those heat rounds. The only tank which just comes to my mind having heat rounds as standard ammunition on the tier spread this tank can face would be the Sheridan, which he could bounce, but that's also because of its already decently sloped armor, the T49 obviously with the gun launcher, and the EKV. Another tank which comes to my mind would be the T34-100, which has premium rounds which are heat rounds with 250mm of penetration. However, personally speaking, I think those heat rounds will go straight through those additional heat screens. I don't think those heat screens will be very, very big or thick, most likely just 5mm. So the armor protection won't necessarily get any better. On the turret, probably the armor protection will be a bit better because the heat screens are spaced much further away from the main armor. The further away those heat screens are spaced from the main armor, the more effective they are against HE and HEAT rounds. Important to note, heat screens do not affect AP rounds. The only thing they affect is the base penetration. So for example, if your gun has 175mm of average penetration and you hit a screen which is 5mm thick, you will just lose 5mm of armor penetration. So your shell still has 170mm of penetration striking the main armor. Just to keep that in mind. Also, the other thing I want to say, I personally don't know if this is going to be a tech tree tank, a premium tank, or a reward vehicle. Those are the main things this tank can become. Obviously, many people say it could be just another premium tank. However, I saw the idea of somebody else that this could be for a new and upcoming PvE mode, where this could be like the main reward. I personally like this idea because usually in summer there are some festivities about bigger battles from World War II. So then if Wargaming, for example, would once again do a PvE mode like we had already, and instead of bond equipment as the main prize, you could get this tier 7 reward or premium vehicle as the main prize, I think this would be a very decent idea or very decent thing to do with this tank. However, this is not confirmed. This is just my personal opinion on this topic. And sorry for letting you wait so long. Let's now jump into the stats of this vehicle. Because in the end, this vehicle is going to be your basic IS-2. 390 alpha, 175mm of penetration, 217mm on premium rounds, which are APCR rounds. There is nothing new about it. However, one thing which is a little bit different, this tank has slightly worse DPM than its brethren, and it's slightly less accurate while fully aimed in. Plus, aim time is also pretty long at 3.4 seconds, and in general, 0.46 accuracy is absolutely ass. Sorry to point it that way, it's very, very bad. And 12.3 seconds, of seconds of real time is also very long. To just compare this to the other tanks, we can have them right here. You can see that all the other IS-2 variants, being the IS-2 Berlin and the IS-2M, which also has additional armor, at least on its sides, all the three tanks have the exact same reload time of 11.79 seconds, giving them a DPM of 1983. The new IS-2 screens will, however, only have a DPM of 1902, which is 80 less. You could argue that's not that much, but sometimes I just have to say, sometimes you really would wish to have this slightly faster reload. In World of Tanks, this can make a small difference, so just keep that in mind as well. One thing which you sadly do not see in this paper right here is the accuracy on the move and during traveling and turret traverse. That is a little bit of a difference there, because as you can see, the IS-2 screen is much more inaccurate while aimed in. It is also slower in aiming, and it was 3.4 seconds at a 0.46 accuracy. And you can see here 0.43, 0.44, and 0.44 with 3.26 or 3.3 seconds base aim time. So it's slightly worse on both aspects. But after looking into the stats a little bit more and having access to the actual stats spreadsheet, there were some hints that this tank will be slightly more accurate on the move. So for example, like the E75 TS and the Object 703 version 2. The Object 703 version 2 has a very inaccurate gun when fully aimed in. It's probably around 0.43, or guns, excuse me. But it is very, very accurate on the move, compared to the E75 TS, which is much more accurate when you fully aim in, but its dispersion is huge and very, very annoying to deal with. Here it is not as big of a difference, but it's still there. The accuracy on the move will be 0.2 and not 0.22 for the IS-2 screened, and the turret accuracy, or while turret movement, won't be 0.15 but 0.12. Those changes are small-ish. They are not very, very big, but they can be noticeable. The gun handling is somewhat comparable to that of the KV-122 if you ever played this tank. It will be slightly better, however, because this tank has slightly worse turret gun handling, if I am not mistaken. Nevertheless, mobility, 30 kph top speed, 14 kph backward speed, 600 brake horsepower, 13.7 HP per ton ratio. All good and dandy, no issues right there, except obviously it's a tiny, tiny touch slower. Top speed is only 30 compared to the 34 kph, and obviously the power to weight ratio. I'm sorry. Actually, the power to weight ratio is a tad better right there. I was mistaken. I should have prepared a little bit better. The power to weight ratio is actually slightly better because it's a 600 horsepower engine, and it looks like the tank is not as heavy as the others, which is fairly interesting because you also get the least amount of hit points, 1,230 compared to the others 1,300 to 1,280. However, you get those 100mm upper front plate armor plus the additional 5mm of the heat screens. And lastly, the view range is once again a little bit worse with 340 only, and 440 signal range is actually important because that's very, very low compared to other things. I'm sorry there, a little mistake. As you can see, it has the lowest of all three tanks, and the radio range yeah, is also very, very poop. In conclusion, I don't really think the IS-2S is necessary. Hence why I hope Wargaming is not going to make it another premium tank, because let's be honest, the KV-122 is kind of something like an IS-2 already. Sure, it is a little bit fast with less armor, but the turrets are equal, and the turrets are the main weak spots of those tanks. This is also why I personally think the ISM, the Tier 8 heavy, when it's stock, is an absolute joke and not really fair, because it has a 100mm IS turret as the stock turret, meaning everything will punch right through. Then again, we obviously have the IS-2 Berlin version as well as the IS-2M, which basically already does exactly the same thing as the IS-2 shielded is. This is why I personally hope that Wargaming is going to release this tank as something of a reward. Again, my bet would be on a PvE event. I can't promise anything. Let's hope it will be like this. However, I do like that this tank has better mobility in the sense of it accelerates faster. It will be a little bit more interesting to see how this performs, for example, in a drag race against the IS-2M with its inferior power to weight ratio of 12.2, excuse me, compared to this tank's, just have to find it again, what is it, 13.7, because that's quite a steep jump. That is also not to forget. Obviously, the top speed, 4 kph difference, this can make a difference, especially as both power to weight ratios aren't as bad as you might think. And lastly, you could see it, I quickly wanted to show you this thing right here. That's the T-3485E, which is a premium tank in War Thunder. And interesting story. They used those heat screens. Those were just old bats, apparently. They just put them onto the tank, and they were rather effective, apparently, against heat rounds, because especially, as far as I know, rifles used heat rounds, and those rifles didn't have enough penetration to go through those heat screens, so there were some things right there. So maybe, just maybe, if Wargaming is actually going to do such an event, it would be cool to see this tank as well, so we know, oh, the shielded line is going to be from this event, this PvE event. Would be cool, but would also be a little bit biased because it would be only Russian tanks. My name is RagingRaptor. I hope you enjoyed today's video about the IS-2 screened. If so, let me know in the comment section below. I hope it was okay. If there's anything I can improve on, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much. Cheers and good luck on the battlefield.